Prelude. I ran as fast as I could. I was in good shape back then. The chase started on the Rue de la Grande Truanderie, big cheat street. You can't make that stuff up. With two friends, I had just relieved some rich kid of a slightly outdated Sony Walkman. I was going to explain to him how we'd actually done him a favor since, as soon as he got home, his daddy would rush right out and buy him the latest model with better sound, easier functions, longer battery life. But I didn't have the time. "Code 22, yelled a voice. "Don't move," shouted another. We took off. Flying down Rue Pierre-Lescot, I slalomed between passers-by with impressive agility. It was easy, classy, really, like Cary Grant in North by Northwest, or like that ferret in the children's song, only bigger. He went this way, he went that way, turning right onto Rue Bergère. I was planning to disappear into Les Halles. Bad idea. Too many people blocking the stair entrance, so I cut a hard left onto Rue des Bourdonnais. The rain had made the pavement slick, and I wasn't sure who had better souls, me or the cops. Luckily, mine didn't let me down. I was like Speedy Gonzales racing at high speed, chased by two mean Sylvesters, ready to gobble me up. I really hoped this would end like in the cartoon. Now on the Quai de la Mégisserie, I caught up with one of my buddies who'd taken off a split second before me and was a much better sprinter. I raced behind him onto the Pont Neuf, closing the distance between us. The shouts from the cops were growing fainter behind us. It seemed like they were already giving up. Of course they were. We were the heroes. Still, I didn't risk looking back to check. I ran as fast as I could, until I was almost out of breath. My feet were killing me so badly I didn't think I could keep it up all the way to Denfert-Rochereau station. To cut it short, I hopped over the short wall meant to keep pedestrians from falling into the river. I knew there was about a 20-inch ledge on the other side that I'd be able to walk along. 20 inches was enough for me. I was slim back then. I crouched, looking at the muddy waters of the Seine rushing powerfully towards the Pont des Arts, the pounding of the cops' cheap shoes on the pavement getting louder, and held my breath, hoping the noise would reach its climax, continue on and fade away. Completely oblivious to the danger, I wasn't afraid of falling. I had no idea where my two friends had gone, but I trusted them to find a good hiding place. As the cops ran past, I snorted oink oink, snickering into the collar of my sweatshirt. A barge shot out from under me and I almost jumped from the shock. I stayed there a minute to catch my breath. I was thirsty. I would have loved a Coke about then. I wasn't a hero. I knew that already, but I was 15 and had always lived like a wild animal. If I'd had to talk about myself, define myself in complete sentences with adjectives, names, and all the grammar they tried to hammer into me at school, I would have had a hard time. Not because I didn't know how to express myself, I was always good at talking, but because I've had to stop and think. Look in the mirror and shut up for a minute, something that's tough for me even now at 40, and wait for something to come to me. An idea, my own self-appraisal, which, if it were an honest one, would have been uncomfortable. Why would I put myself through that? No one was asking me to, not at home or at school. Incidentally, I was great at handling interrogation. If someone even thought of asking me a question, I took off without blinking. As a teen, I ran fast. I had good legs and the best reasons for running. Every day I was on the street. Every day I gave the cops a new reason to come after me. Every day I sped from one neighborhood of the city to the next, like in some fantastic theme park where anything goes. The object of the game? Take as much as possible without getting caught. I needed nothing. I wanted everything. I was growing up in a giant department store where everything was free. If there were any rules, I wasn't aware of them. No one told me about them when they could have, and after that, I didn't give them the chance. That suited me just fine. One October day in 1997, I was run over by an 18-wheeler. The result, a fractured hip, smashed left leg, intensive surgery, and weeks of rehabilitation in the suburb of Garches. I stopped running and started gaining a little weight. 3 years before that, I'd met a man stuck in a wheelchair after a paragliding accident, Phillippe Pozzo di Borgo. For a short time, we were equals, invalids. As a kid, that word only meant a metro station to me, an esplanade wide enough to steal stuff while keeping an eye on the guys in uniform. An ideal playground. I had been benched temporarily, but Pozzo was permanently out of the game. Last year, we both became the heroes of a hit film, Intouchables. Now suddenly everyone wants to touch us. The thing is, even I'm a good guy in the story. I have perfectly straight teeth, I smile all of the time, have a spontaneous laugh, and I bravely care for the guy in the wheelchair. And I dance like a god. Everything the two characters do in the film, the high-speed freeway chase in a luxury sports car, the paragliding, the nighttime walks through Paris, Pozzo and I really lived it. I didn't do that much for him, at least not as much as he did for me. I pushed him around, acted as his companion, eased his pain as much as possible, and I was present. I'd never known a man that rich. He came from a long line of aristocrats and had done well on top of that. Multiple college degrees and the presidency of Pommery Champagnes. I used him. He changed my life, but I didn't change his, not very much anyway. The film made the truth prettier to make you believe in a better world. I might as well say it straight off. I'm not really like the character from the movie. I'm short, an Arab, and not particularly endearing. I've done a lot of bad things in my life, and I'm not looking for any excuses to justify them. I can talk about them today thanks to the statute of limitations. I have nothing in common with the real Untouchables, those Indians condemned to a life of misery. If I belong to any caste, it's the Uncontrollables, and I am their uncontested leader. It's my true nature, independent, rebellious to any discipline, established order, or morals. I'm not looking for excuses, and I'm not bragging either. A person can change. I'm living proof. The other day I was walking on the Pont Neuf. It was just about the same kind of day as it had been back when I had that chase with the cops. An annoying icy drizzle trickled down my balding scalp and a cold wind blew into my jacket. I thought it was magnificent. This bridge in 2 sections linking the Ile de la Cité to the right and left banks of Paris. I was impressed by its dimensions, its width, almost 100 feet, and its luxurious sidewalks with circular overhangs on the sand to let pedestrians stop and admire the panorama. At no risk. What an idea. I leaned over the edge. The river ran through Paris like a galloping horse, its color like a stormy sky, and looked like it would swallow everything up. As a kid, I didn't realize that even an expert swimmer would have trouble making it out. I also didn't realize that exactly 10 years before I was born, the French had tossed dozens of Algerians into these waters, and they did it knowing full well how dangerous the river was. I looked at the stone ledge where I had hidden from the cops and shuddered at my former audacity. I thought that now I'd never dare climb over the edge. I thought above all that now I had no reason to hide or to run. Part 1. Unsupervised Freedom. Chapter 1. I don't remember the town in Algeria where I was born. I have forgotten everything about its odors, colors, and sounds. I only know that when I got to Paris in 1975, at the age of 4, I didn't feel homesick. My parents told me, "This is your Uncle Belkacem. This is your Aunt Amina. You are their son now. You stay here." The kitchen of their tiny 2-bedroom smelled like couscous and spices, like it did at home. We were just a little more crowded, especially since my brother, 1 year older than me, also came with the package. The oldest of the children, a girl, had stayed back home. A girl is too useful to give up. She would help our mother take care of the other 2 children born after me. That way, there'd be 3 Sellou kids in Algeria, and that was enough. A new life and the first news flash. Mama is no longer Mama. You can't call her that. Don't even think about it anymore. Now, Amina is Mama. She's so happy to suddenly have 2 sons because she had long worried that their marriage produced no children. She caresses our hair, pulls us onto her lap, kisses our fingertips, and promises us we'll never want for love. Except that we don't even know what love is. We'd always been sheltered, fed, cared for, and held on nights when we were sick, sure, but no big deal. It was just natural. I decide that it'll be the same way here. Second news flash. Algeria no longer exists. We live in Paris now, on Boulevard Saint-Michel, in the heart of the French capital, and yes, just like back home, we can go and play. Apparently, it's a little chillier downstairs. What's that smell? Does the sun beat down on the paving stones like it does on the asphalt in my hometown? Do the cars honk with as much enthusiasm? I go to find out, with my brother tagging along. I only notice one thing in the pitifully small park at the Abbaye de Cluny. The other children don't talk like we do. My brother, the oaf, stays glued to me like he's afraid of them. My uncle, the new father, reassures us in our native language. We'll learn French soon enough at school. Our school bags are ready. You're getting up early tomorrow, kids. But that doesn't mean you have to go to bed when the hens do. At home, the hens never go to bed. At home, uncle. But where is home? In Algeria? In Algeria, the hens don't go to bed, right, uncle? Well, they don't go to bed as early as they do in France. What are we now, uncle? Where is our home? Your chicks from Algeria on a French farm. Third news flash. From now on, we'll grow up in a country and learn the local language, but we're still, and will continue to be, what we have been since our first breath. All of this is a little complicated for kids, and I've already closed myself off to any intellectual effort. My brother puts his head in his hands and huddles more closely behind me. Man, he's annoying. As for me, I don't know what French school is like, but I quickly adopt the motto that I'll use for years to come. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I was far from imagining then what kind of ruckus I was going to cause in the barnyard. I didn't have bad intentions. There was no kid more innocent than me. Put simply, if I hadn't been Muslim, I would have had a halo. It was 1975. The cars driving up and down the Boulevard Saint-Michel were called Renault Alpine, Peugeot 304, Citroën 2CV 2 chevaux, Peugeot Talbot. The R12s were already old-fashioned, and if I had to choose, I would have preferred the 4L, which at least wasn't pretentious. A kid could cross the street unaccompanied without a cop automatically taking him into custody. The city, the outdoors, freedom weren't considered dangerous. Of course, we'd run into a drunk from time to time, but we assumed he'd chosen to live that way, and so we left him alone. Nobody felt the slightest bit guilty. Even the less fortunate didn't hesitate to toss him a few coins. In the living room of our apartment, which doubled as my parents' bedroom since we arrived, my brother and I took up all this space, two princes in bell-bottoms and high-collared shirts. On the black and white TV screen, a little puny bald guy shook with anger because he couldn't catch Fantomas. In another show, he danced on the Rue de Rosiers dressed up as a rabbi. I had absolutely no idea what a rabbi was or what the irony of his situation was. But I still loved the show. The two adults watched their new children laughing in loud spurts. That made them much happier than Louis de Funès' gags and funny faces did. Back in that same time, Jean-Paul Belmondo was running across rooftops in a white suit. He thought he was Le Magnifique. I thought he was nuts. I much preferred Sean Connery in his grey turtleneck. At least his hair never got messed up. He'd pull amazing gadgets from his pockets that got him out of every sticky situation and with exemplary discretion. James Bond was true class. Spread out on the oriental couch, I savored each and every moment without worrying about the next one and never thinking about the past. Life was as easy as 1, 2, 3. In Paris, as in Algiers, my name has stayed the same. Abdel Yamin. In Arabic, the root abd means to revere, and el means the. Revere the Yamin. I nibbled on dates, and Amina picked up the pits.